What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Glad to have you all with me today. I'm going to recap the kickoff weekend. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was a great weekend of football. It was good to see spring football back in action. We had our weekend start off with an awesome Friday night matchup, finished up with a Sunday night football matchup. Really couldn't ask for a better weekend of football. But just wanted to kick things off here today. Gonna just give you some thoughts I had. Then we're gonna go in, recap each of the games real quick, finish up with maybe some overreactions, um, and then take a look at what we might have ahead for the future. So where I wanted to start today, really with my broad takeaway from the whole weekend watching all four games, we got an issue. And it's defense. It really is. We got to strengthen our defensive lines. The defensive backfield needs to do much better. I get that it was week one, but the amount of pass yards that we were letting up really did cause some concern. So that was one thing I wanted to just start off, and that's going to be something we're going to hear about throughout this whole stream, all of these games. I do think there was some defensive issues. But where I wanted to start was who had the best weekend. So I'd love to hear what you guys had to think about this, but it had to have been Austin Reed, in my opinion. Sets the passing record. Really can't ask for a better performance out of your quarterback. Don't know what's going to happen with the Spring King, but ultimately Austin Reed might be the new Spring King. And his performance, I think he put the league on notice, and I think he put the NFL on notice with that as well. So really a great day for him. But the worst weekend, really, I think that was Houston. The Gamblers, I think there was questions going into the weekend, and I think the questions are even worse now. So that is a cause of concern for us. But ultimately, their defense is somewhere where I think they should target a lot of their focus this week because their offense did show signs, but ultimately there are a lot of concerns there. So whoever has Houston coming up in the next few weeks, I think they may be in luck. But with that being said, I did have some concerns for each of the teams that I wanted to get into as well. Starting off with DC, really shocked me. I was expecting more. Maybe they came in, they were complacent. I don't know what it was, but that defense, they retained a lot of it from last year, and it was just did not come together this week. And I don't know if maybe it had something to do with the field they're playing on, or what that was. But ultimately, really poor showing out of their defense. And also, it doesn't help when their quarterback throws two interceptions as well. So that wasn't great either. For St. Louis, I really do think some offensive consistency would be good for them. If they can really put some drives together, they really will be one of the more competitive teams this season. And where I really think they'll have a benefit is from their home field advantage. But without some offensive consistency, I expect them to be in tight ones all season long. Orlando, next up for us, they really were a good team. They can clean some things up, of course, but Coach Beck, he coaches a good team. Their special teams need some assistance. Definitely a concern for me. But where they will be all right is if they want to keep that going and they want to go 12-0. If they can strengthen their kicker, they might be in luck. For Birmingham, defense, that's an issue. We expected them to really put a hurting on the Kings, and that did not happen. Can they do better this year? I don't know. Maybe we've seen all that they have, but I think as the season goes on, we'll start to see that defense be a lot better. But they'll be going against offenses that are also doing a lot better. For Columbus, quarterback and offense wasn't bad. Really wasn't bad. The defense, though, oh my goodness. Special teams weren't terrible. Could use some work. The returning was pretty good, but really that defense for me concerning. Very concerning. Then for Louisville, they got some good receivers, but like all in all, if you're going to throw the ball so much, you need to catch the ball every single time. And that's something where I feel like they could use some practice, but give them some time. As that timing catches up between the quarterback and the receivers, you'll start to see those drops go down. For Dallas, I really don't have any concerns. Honestly, I thought they did great. I can't find one thing that I think they could do better. Maybe some kicker consistency, but ultimately, I think everything they put on the field was very good. Houston, on the other hand, completely different. Everything's a question with them. So I do have concerns. I really hope they can pull it together because they got a long season ahead of them if they don't. If they put that level of football out on the field every week, it's going to be a tough one for them. And they were in a good time slot, 4 p.m. too, so unfortunate. But all in all, a great weekend of football. So let's take a look at the weekend. Starting off Friday night, really good game. I think most people thought Birmingham was going to, roll the Kings, but that did not happen. It was a close game. It was a competitive game. I really enjoyed it. Snoop, this boy here, has got a future in this league. He may be one of the better rushers in the league, and honestly, I hope to see him in the NFL one day. Really, really runs hard. I loved every second of it. It really, really does well. And then this boy here put on a show. This was one of the more talked about elements of kickoff weekend. Russell Dickerson did a really, really good job. The halftime was long, and I actually enjoyed the long halftime. All in all, this game really had everything you want to see in a good football game. Corral, 208 yards, 70%, pretty good. One TD, not bad. Jason Bean, 226, even better, but he missed a lot more of his passes. So that's kind of a concern, is if we're going to pass so much and we're going to drop so many and we're going to stay in these games, think about if we, catch 75% of those passes, this score might be a lot different. Or if we don't have as many fumbles, things like that, because that's where you start to see when we're getting the rushing, pretty much non-existent. They had no rushing game. Connor did well. McFarland really, really did well. And then when we get down to receiving, the Kings did well. They got 3 solid receivers. I would say Birmingham also has three, maybe 4 solid receivers. But the question kind of becomes, who is the number one? And I would say we know it's going to be Mickens for this year, at least for the Stallions. But then when we get to the Kings, still some questions there. Defense-wise, did very well. He did get some tackles for loss, couple sacks. Green May really did well on the Stallions, and I think he'll lead the team. Overall, I think both teams did well, and I expect them to really go deep this year, personally. Then our next game, our first game on Saturday, DC visiting the Battlehawks. Great matchup. It's been a rivalry. We knew it was going to be a rivalry, and ultimately it was a very, very good game. It promised, it delivered. Score was low. Don't get me wrong, score was low, but it was really a fair match. It was defense on defense, and honestly, I would like to see this rematch later on in the season and see exactly how it compares, because there are some questions there, especially when we get to the Battlehawks. If you take them out of that home field advantage, how does that team compare? Is the defense going to get as many takeaways? What happens there when we put them in a site that's not so friendly? Halftime show, really, really good. I enjoyed Nelly. At first, it didn't seem like the crowd was too into it, but as the show went on, I think it really, really was well done. And for people at home, I think they really enjoyed it as well. So that is one thing I think the league has excelled at so far, putting on a good show both for those in the stadium and those at home, and I think that's something the league should be proud of, and if they can continue that, then they're really in luck, and it should be a good season for us. And then they did interview Repole. He wants the league to win. I want it to win as well, and I think we're making steps towards that. I do think it's going to be crucial. They are going to be moving the schedule around next week. We're going to be on some strange channels, so I think there's a path forward here for the UFL, and if it's not squandered, then we as the fans are in luck. But if we look back, 10-16, the Battlehawks did kind of pull off that upset. I do think, Tamu throwing those 2 interceptions, that has a huge, huge impact on the game. Silvers did a decent job. I'd like to see that completion percentage go up a little bit. But ultimately, both quarterbacks. I get it. It was week one. We're knocking off the rust, but I would like to see a better performance out of each if we're going to see either of these teams in the playoffs, though the Battlehawks may be carried by that home field advantage. When we get to rushing, fair match didn't really have too much breakout talent. Jackson, of course, did well. And then Howard for the Battlehawks. Then when we look at receiving, that's where who do we even have here? Nothing really that jumps off at you, which is unfortunate because there wasn't much offense in this game. It was far more in the defense, and that's where if you look, you're going to see a lot more sacks, tackle for losses on both sides. So look at this: we got 2 sacks on the defenders that we had from our fella here. And we had Mr. Fresh with 1.5. Mr. Harris with 1.5, a lot of sacks. So really they were getting after the quarterback. It was a defensive game, but all in all, this was a wonderful, wonderful matchup and rivalry in spring football, and I'm happy we got to see it. Next, if we turn over to our Gamblers versus the Renegades. Now this game, first thing I want to say is this was the first, stadium we saw that was not packed. And I understand the move to a smaller stadium should have helped on that. Didn't exactly help in this matter. So I do worry about the future. Though I get it, it was week one. Maybe it's a busy time. You got baseball going on. Who knows what was going on that kept people from the game? But that is a concern for me. What does the future look like? But otherwise, the bigger concern is Houston. The Renegades are doing amazing. Everything they've done so far this season, at least through week one, really done well, and I trust the coach. Neuheisel was a good coach. He knows what he's doing. He's came into the league, and he's really hit the ground running. So all in all, I thought it was a great game. Where we do want to see some strength, I suppose, and maybe this had something to do with it. It seemed like a lot of the people that did go to the game were there to see the halftime performance. But when you're going to put a whooping on your opponent the way they did, they deserve to enjoy themselves. And really the Renegades did just that. Not only do you got your quarterback setting the passing record, everybody's scoring touchdowns, everyone's catching passes, the defense is eating the Gamblers alive. Really, really an amazing showing by the Renegades. Stoops showed up as well, so this really makes me happy. Get Coach back in here, and he got to do the coin toss. So really kind of a full circle moment. Great to see him back. Great to have him still a part of the franchise, still a part of the league. So all in all, for the Renegades, great weekend for you. I hope that win inspires some better fan turnout because I would like to see what Dallas has to offer for spring football. On the Gamblers, that's where there's a lot of questions. Defense, what are we doing? Offense, what are we doing? We're starting to get things together when it comes to the quarterback, but and when you figure the quarterback out, everything kind of comes in line. But where there's questions is who are we throwing it to? And then when we get on defense, do they even know what's going on? Because at this, during the game, there was a lot of times where it looked like the Gamblers had no idea what the hell they were doing. And that was worrisome for me. But when we look at the, stats, 17-36, really at the end, and I don't know if maybe the Renegades had their backups in, but they did start to put up some points on the board. But Deckers, I think he's got the future, probably going to be leading the team at quarterback. So I do expect to see more of him this year. He did all right, 89 QBR, 227 yards, really not bad. But Reed stole the show, 376, a 120 QBR. The NFL is probably looking at this guy after that performance. So if I'm him, I'm feeling very good about my spring football future. Then when we look at rushing, relatively all right. The Gamblers, not much to show for themselves. Maybe they can kind of put it together, but at the way they're playing is they're not throwing the ball, they're just handing it off every time. So they're just getting rushed. Not really much they can do there. For the Renegades, kind of the same thing. Not too many rushing yards. Really, passing was the name of the game, and Vaughn's really, really, really made a name for himself. I think that Vaughn's Reed connection is going to be center stage all year long. Kirkland did well in the few catches that he did have. overall, I think when they throw the ball, they're going to be good, the Gamblers. But the thing is can they get the whole offense together? And that's where I think they'll have the largest question. But Vaughn's 144 yards. Come on now. That's very, very good. Look at this, 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. There was a very, very good performance out of the Renegades offense. And the Gamblers, honestly, their wide receiver room, they did well as well. Defense, that's where I think not so good for the Gamblers. They could use some, definitely want to see that improve. But the Renegades really had a very balanced defense, and I feel like they did a very, very good job. Fumbles, everybody was fumbling this weekend. It happens. It's the first week, and what can you expect? Austin Reed, though, made a name for himself. Really, 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 really good job. 376 yards, 3 tuds. He's gonna be a star this year. So watch out for him. Our final game of the weekend, our Sunday night matchup, the Orlando Storm were visited by the Columbus Aviators. Two first games in both these franchises, and then we had one first-time head coach and coach Ted Ginn. And ultimately, that difference did show through, unfortunately. So the Aviators, it was close towards the end, and the offense did well. But it was they were sloppy, pretty much. They just had a lot of errors, and those errors do cause issues for you. You keep making those mistakes, then it leads to, consistent errors that then stack on each other, and then they're hard to overcome. You take out that initial fumble in the beginning of the game, they're only down by 1 point. So there was a path for the Aviators, and I do think they have a future, but it's more a question of how is everything going to line up, because this was it, punting all the time. The Storm, though, they look good. I'd like to see more fans. They did have kind of the poorest showing out of all of the games, so I do wonder what's going on in Orlando, but I get it. It's Florida. It's busy. Who knows what the weather was like, the traffic, I know. But I would like to see a better showing out of them. The team did well, and I expect them to continue doing well. Rowland really, really made a name for himself already in the new city. I think he'll do well this year, just like he did last year, so be on the lookout for him. Overall, this team, I think, is going to be competitive throughout the season. Coach Ginn, this is where I think they could use some assistance. It's just... they had flags, they had fumbles, they had basically every opportunity where they could get ahead. They pulled themselves back, and that was really unfortunate to watch, because they did have a future to some scores. They had the defensive showing was well. You can see here they were getting after the quarterback. It was a lot closer throughout the game than what it might have seemed while watching it, or at least from the box score. But then if you look at the schedule, Aviators in for a tough one next week, even tougher one the next 2 weeks. They got the Renegades back-to-back, so that'll be tough, and then the Gamblers back-to-back, which is kind of weird how they're doing these back-to-backs. But ultimately, schedules are what they are. So all in all, tough for them, but pretty good weekend. I'd say really, really set the pace for what should be a really good season of football. So I'm excited to see what we have for week 2. Friday night football will be a good time as well. And then when we look, what do we got? We got DC visiting the Aviators. That'll be Friday night. And then we got Saturday. We got one game Saturday. Seems to be the Kings visiting Orlando. And then we've got... Stallions on Sunday visiting the Gamblers, and then the Battlehawks visiting the Renegades. So these games here, I think probably the Storm Kings will be a good matchup, and then this Kings Battlehawks, or not Kings, Renegades Battlehawks matchup. Those will be some good games for us. But if we look back kind of at the score and our plays, McClendon. I really do believe in McClendon. He was running the team well. I thought all in all, they did a good job this year, or in the game. Plummer, I think he's got a good future ahead of him. He did really well, 127 QBR. Really, really was throwing the ball well. Then we look, we got Toa Taua out there. That was good to see. Zamir White. Overall, rushing, I think that they're going to have, they're a very balanced offense. It's more about bringing it all together. And that's where I think once they do that, they'll be a good team and a dangerous team to face. But can they do it, and what time do they do it? Because by week 5, it's not going to do them any good. Looking at the Storm, rushing, they do got some good backs, so I do give him that. But receiving, we got one guy catching all the balls, so that's all right, But ultimately, he goes down. What's going to happen to the passing attack of the Storm? So I do think they got a good future. Everything should look up for them, and I'd expect Coach Beck to be competing for a playoff spot, if nothing else. But let's go take a quick walk back through kind of what was. Here's what to know. What was the kind of layout before this season? We had that championship standard for the Stallions. Really, it felt like that. AJ McCarron, he hit the ground running. I think he'll bring a competitive team each week, and his team really looked well out there. So I expect them to be in it every week. So Columbus Aviators, new identity, taking flight. Defensively, Columbus is expected to play aggressively. They did play aggressively, but not always did it work out for them. So in that, they need to slow it down, give them some time, but I get it. They were excited, first game of the franchise. I get it. The defense that can take over games. So with the Spring King back under center, not happening. So I appreciate Coach Neuheisel kind of making that choice for the best offense they got. So good job, Coach Neuheisel. But then when we look at their defense was really good. I have no complaints there. Defense, they had the stars, but what the heck happened? You had the MVP from last year, and he looked like he was a rookie. So what's going on here? Why is the offense not working? Did we get complacent? What is the problem? What are the questions? Where do we get this team back to that championship standard? Because I'd like to see them competing for the playoffs again, but we'll see what happens. Boom or bust. It was a bust, plain and simply. There could be a path where they have a boom offense or a boom team, a boom game, doesn't matter. But that question mark is at the quarterback. If they can figure that out, the offense comes together, they get their defense a little bit of a break, and I'd see them really start to compete. But that defense, it is worrisome. It is very worrisome. Louisville, weapons galore. It's true. They got a competitive team, and their defense can keep them in the games, and then their offense can win the shootout. So really, I think things look good for them. But depending on how they show out in week 2, there could be questions. Orlando Storm, that winning culture is there. It did seem like the team felt like the Battlehawks did last year, so that was kind of weird. But ultimately, I think they are going to be competitive. They're going to be in every game. But I do worry about them finishing games, because at the end of the game on Sunday, you started to see the Aviators get a lot more competitive with their offense. Then we look at the Battlehawks, that Battle Dome, that home field advantage. They're going to carry them through the season, so they'll probably get 5 wins just off the home field advantage. But ultimately, if they can get Silvers competing a little bit better, then we can see them all the way into the playoffs. And then their offense or their defense could use some work, but ultimately we'll see exactly how that shakes out. But it did show out pretty well. But they're, I don't know if those interceptions, and I can't say, I did watch some film, but it didn't seem like those were completely the defense doing everything right. So no fault of the defense, but more just the quarterback may have thrown it right to him. So if we look back at our scores, we had 15-13, Louisville Kings taking a loss, 10-16, the Defenders taking a loss, 17-36 with the Gamblers taking a loss, and then 16-23 with the Aviators taking a loss. So really, the home teams did well, and I expect them to continue doing well. So not too bad for us, and really I would say we got a lot to look forward to. But I do have some overreactions for us that I wanted to finish up with, and then maybe we'll be going over the power rankings probably tomorrow or another day later on this week. But for our first overreaction, I think Dallas could be our 2026 champs, and it's hard to crown them after 1 week, but I do think that they are going to be very, very competitive. Then number 2, Tamu, it could be his last season, if I'm to be honest with you. It's a little controversial, but I would not be surprised if it is his last season and they do look for a new quarterback moving forward. Perez probably won't take a snap this year. That's my next one. Probably true. Did you see how well Reed did? So don't be surprised if we don't see the Spring King. Don't be surprised if he moves into coaching. Don't be surprised if he may be leading one of the franchise or expansion teams coming up. St. Louis, I think they're going undefeated at home. I don't know that that's an overreaction. I don't know if that's just an expectation, but that 30,000 fans in that building in the dome, yeah, you can't beat that. You really can't. Concern. Houston might not win more than 2 games. I don't know if that's for the whole season, if that's just for the first 5 games, but I'm worried that they will lose a lot of games this season. And it's really, really sad because you only get a season in the UFL. You get a different team basically every year. You don't get years to build on your success. Because if you remember, the quarterback for the Aviators, McClendon, used to be the quarterback in Houston, but that's no more. So I do worry that they're not going to win a lot of games this year. And then our final overreaction, the wide receivers are going to be the stars of the league this year. It's not going to be the kickers. It's not going to be a quarterback. It's going to be the wide receivers. We're going to see them putting up dummy numbers and yards, a lot of touchdowns. So I expect there's there to be some amazing plays and a lot of highlights this year, and I think that's what the league wants. They want to get eyeballs on the league. They want to keep the viewership growing. So don't be surprised if we see them, really, really push wide receiver marketing, but also lighter penalties when it comes to pass interference, at least from the offensive side. And then a final note on us, just another look at the week ahead. I do think we'll have some good matchups. Friday night football is going to be great all season. Our Sunday night games, when we do have them, will be good. Our Saturday night games, when we do have them, will be good. So all in all, I think there's a lot to look forward to. But otherwise, I just wanted to say thank you for joining. We'll be coming at you probably tomorrow, maybe later on this week, with a preview for next week, as well as a little reaction to the power rankings, so on and so forth. So thanks again for joining. Have a good night, and thanks again for watching. We really appreciate you joining us. Though next time, hopefully we'll have a little bit more stats to go over. But until then, be well. Thanks again for joining. Bye now.